friends, today we're going to paint some bees and some cone flowers. Colors you're going to need: pink, red, orange, yellow, green, dark blue, light blue, white, and black. I always have my favorite 4 brushes in my studio: my 1-inch flat brush, my 10-6, and 1 round brush. Remember to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. So let's get started. My sky is going to be a nice mix of light blue, dark blue, and white. So I'm just going to grab some light blue and dark blue, kind of throw it on here any place I want it to go. All I'm doing is taking my 1-inch flat brush and dipping half of it into light blue and half of it into dark blue. Kind of put that color up there. And then I could take some white paint and I could just drop some white spots in. And then I'm just going to brush these lines across left to right until they're mixed how I want them to mix. Perfect. I can wipe and wash my brush off, set it aside, and when my background's dry, we'll add in those cone flowers and that bumblebee. With my background dry, let's go ahead and lay out our grass and our flowers. So first of all, I'm just going to kind of lay out where my big flower is going to go so I don't have to worry about saving space for it. So I want my big flower down here in this corner. And what's going to happen is I'm just going to kind of draw like this big smiley face and then a bump. Okay, so that's going to be like the top of the flower. And then in this general area is where the petals are going to go. So now I know where not to put everything else, okay? But I'm going to go in with my number 6 round brush with some dark paint, and I'm going to make my grass. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to pull my lines of grass down. And the reason I'm starting at the top is I get a pointed top if I start up this way and bring my brush stroke down. If I start at the bottom and pull it up, I don't get as neat of an ending with it. So I'm just going to take a bunch of different lines and kind of pull them down. And then I could go in with some white. So I've got green and white on my brush now. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to add a couple more lines. And then down here at the base, I'm just going to kind of take some green and some white, just kind of flick up just to fill that bottom space in. So I'm going to take some red and a little bit of green paint. I know that sounds odd, but a little bit of red, a little bit of green. And I'm going to paint the center of this with that red-green mix. So I'm just going to follow this line around. And wash that brush off really good. Now I'm just going to use regular red paint, and I'm going to lay out where my petals are going to go. So I'm going to have petals that are just going to kind of come out and meet with each other off to the edge. Okay, so I've got 3 main petals here. But then I have to think to myself, like, well, what about the petals underneath it? And that's where we are going to add some red paint just in these open areas. And then with that red, I might even add a little bit of blue just to darken it up right in here by the edge of the center. So all I did with my number 10 round brush is I grabbed a little bit of my dark blue paint and I just kind of put it in there, and I'm going to brush that red back into it so that it's really dark in towards the center, but not as dark coming out towards the edges. So I've just got some red on my brush. I'm just kind of blending these colors in a little bit. I'm not going to wash my brush up, but I am going to wipe it off. And I'm going to then fill this space in with that pink paint. I want that red to be on the edge, so I can kind of blend that a little bit. Okay, we're going to leave this area alone for a little bit. I'm going to find that number 6 round brush, and we're going to add our other flowers in more towards the background area. So for the rest of my flowers, I'm just going to make a yellow top. And then from that yellow top, I'm going to make a mixture of red and pink. And I'm just going to make long petals that kind of flop over. Okay. And I'm going to make some of these, they're my favorite cone flowers, Black-Eyed Susans. So they will have a black top. With some yellow petals. And I'm just going to paint these in with a solid color. Okay, so my pink ones, I'm just going to paint in with a solid pink to start. My yellow ones, I'm just going to paint in with a solid yellow. So let's get these all on here, and then we'll add our details. Now that everything's on there, let's go back in and look at these flowers again. So my Black-Eyed Susans, I'm going to take some white and I'm going to outline the tops of these. Okay, so like one of the two sides. Once I get to the flip side, I'm going to switch it to this top one. I can then take a little bit more yellow and just a little dirty brush. Okay, just grab some more yellow with that white still on there. And I'll go ahead and put second coat of yellow in this. And then using just the very, very, very tip of my brush, I'm going to take just some little bit of orange and just put a little bit right at the base of each of these. And just kind of brush that out. And I'm going to finish these up by just going in and re-cleaning this edge so it looks like it's all connected. I can even go in with a little bit of yellow on the back of my brush and add a couple of spots of yellow up at the top of this. Okay, so that's how we're going to finish off our Black-Eyed Susans. Now for my pink cone flowers, it's very similar. I'm going to go in with some pink and white on my brush. I'm going to get the tops of all of these edges. That's really whatever edge is kind of facing up towards the sun. So I'm actually going to do this one, and then I'm going to get this one over here. And then I'm going to go back in with the pink. I'm going to make another layer of pink. But I'm going to take a little bit of white paint and put it at the base here and kind of pull that down into the pink. I'd even grab a little bit of yellow also and just kind of let it play in there too. I'm happy I added that yellow. That looks really pretty. All right, let's bring some life to our bottom flower here. Same kind of thing. We're going to mess around with some whites and some of the colors in there. So I've got some white and some pink on my brush, and I'm going to outline the edges of this flower petal with the white and pink. And then from there, I'm really just going to kind of play with some lines of red, orange, yellow, and pink. Okay, so just kind of play with it until you like it. I don't want mine to mix too much, so I am going to be a little mindful about that. I want to be able to see all those lines. If I get a solid color at the end, it just kind of tells me that I let it mix a little too much. So I'm just going to take some pink in there, kind of pull these colors through and try not to over mix them. Now underneath here, we're going to do something similar, but we're not going to add any of the super bright colors in. So I'm just going to go on in here and put some lines of pink and red. And I'm still using my number 6 brown brush. And of course, we're going to clean up this bottom edge right here. With that red paint. So for this flower, since it's in the front, I am going to use my pencil eraser. And that means I'm just going to take the back of my pencil with some yellow paint on it. And I am going to put a lot of yellow dots on the top of this. I'm okay if some are a little more yellow, or if I maybe even mix a little bit of white in with some of them, make some of them lighter. And I'm going to use the back of my brush to right along in here, down at the bottom, just kind of finish this out with some smaller dots. Oh, I love that. All right, I'm gonna let my background dry just a little bit before I go and add in that bumblebee. All right, let's get our little bumblebee on here. So I am gonna start off with a mix of yellow and white, and I'm just gonna make a big, huge bean shape, okay? So yellow and white on my brush, I am gonna make a big, huge bean shape. Now this is my big bumblebee. You can always make several smaller ones that go all the way around this picture, totally up to you. I'm just gonna make one nice big one. He's gonna be eyeing this big, huge flower right up here in the front. So see how he looks kind of like a lima bean? That's the shape we're going for. From there, I can wipe that brush off, and I'm gonna grab my number 6 round brush, and I'm gonna use some black paint. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a line right here, okay? And this is going to be his little bee head. This little bee head is going to kind of come down a little bit bigger than my original bean was shaped. Then I'm going to go right back here and I'm going to make another spot, and this is going to have kind of like 2 curved lines in, okay? And then I'm going to make one more right back here at the tail end. So I'm going to paint all of this in black. I'm going to make this have a small point to it. And I'm going to paint all this in black. I'm also going to paint right along here. The bottom of his body is also going to be black. Now, as these little bits and spaces start to dry, I'm going to grab a little bit of orange and a lot of yellow on my brush. And I'm going to go right back here. I'm going to make small little lines that are going to go from the black all the way to the next area. It's going to start with like an orange and yellow right up here. And then I'm going to switch it to just yellow as we kind of move down his back. Take a little bit of yellow right down here on his backside and make a couple of little lines that go right across here. Right. For his eye, I'm just going to grab a little bit of white paint on my number 6 round brush. I'm just going to kind of outline where his eye would be, and maybe put like a highlight at the top of it. Then I can grab some watered down black paint. Anytime I like to make super skinny lines, I like to water my black paint down. So some watered down black paint. And I'm going to just give him like one little antenna, another one. Give him his little legs back here. And his little front arms, kind of the same thing. Make one just a little bit longer than the other one. All right, let's move on to those wings. So for his wings, I'm going to grab some white paint and some black paint and a lot of water. Okay, I want my wings to almost be kind of see-through, okay? So some white paint, some black paint, a lot of water, making a really great gray color. And back over here, I'm going to make my first wing, and it's just going to be kind of up and then down, okay? In fact, I think I'm going to let this dry before I put my other wing in. That way I don't make my wings all yellow and black. So let's let this dry. We'll come back and finish them up. All right, dry background. Now let's go ahead and make our wings. I'm happy I did that because I actually want to make this wing come out and up and over and down. There we go. And then I'm not going to add any more paint to my brush. I'm just going to add water. And I am going to fill this in with just water and the paint that is already on my brush. That's how I'm going to make it be see-through. Perfect. Now I'm going to take a little bit of blue and mix it with that gray. So a little bit of blue, a little bit of gray. And I'm going to make the details on the wing. So this is just the back wing. And so I'm just going to go in here and make a couple of lines that kind of connect like this. My goal is to make nice big lines that kind of fill out that space. So I'm going from this original one down here. Maybe I'll make another one right here. Like these ones too. Okay. So now that my back wing is done, now I can do my front wing. I'm going to start the exact same way. So it's going to start right here. This one's going to be coming up a little bit and then down. Wash that brush off, grab a little bit of clean white paint. I'm going to add a small little highlight on the top of his head and his back. Add a small highlight to the top of these wings. And there you have it. When you're finished, you're going to find a color that's going to show up on your canvas and sign your name. Remember, I never get to see what you're painting at home unless you take a picture of it and post it to my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you are kept up to date on all of my tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.